Okay, we did a lot of invisible work for the last few days, in addition to the features that we implemented on the previous streams, and we will continue this invisible work during today's stream, because it is required to keep the tempo of our work and not to get to the point where it will be impossible to add features or to understand how code works. So from time to time we need to come back and clean up stuff, refactor stuff, and what we will basically do today. In the morning I implemented one important thing that is not directly related to the testing library and its integration, but it is required to make it possible to put extension in a proper place of Arei's extension stacks, and this is a wraps extension property, which allows to specify which extensions should appear later in the extension stack. And for Arei's testing extension, we need Arei's and REPL evaluate extension to be present and be later in the stack, so Arei's testing can wrap testing operations and transform them into evaluation operation and bypass down the stack to the evaluation extension. This is basically why we need this wraps keyword. I explained in more detail on RD Devil this functionality. You can see this thread, and here is an explanation why we need the wraps keyword, and today I implemented it. So now we can specify that, for example, logging wraps everything. I'm not sure that it's a good idea to use a keyword instead of list. Probably it should be a part of the list, because I already have some use cases in mind where it will be beneficial to specify all and also specific extensions that we wraps to avoid some problems when we have two extensions that wraps all other extensions. And of course we can explicitly specify that, for example, Arei's testing, wraps, and REPL evaluation. And we ensure that Arei's testing will be earlier in the extension stack, and this way it will be able to send operations, evaluation operations, to an REPL evaluation extension. Okay, we did it, and now I will do one more refactoring to Arei's extensions, which not directly related to testing library, but still important change. We already have in Beancode extension here. We already had in Beancode extension here an exception handler that took all other extensions down the stack and wrapped them into exception handler. And if something bad happens in any extensions later than Beancode, the exception will be like captured and sent back to the client. However, the Beancode extension probably is not the right place for this exception handler. That's why we will create a new extension, and this extension will install this handler, and it will install it somewhere. Compilation. Oh, Vitor. Oh, okay, we don't have Arei's executed. You can see here we have our extensions ordered depending on requires and wraps keywords. And Bencode is almost at the top of the stack. And it's like okay to have exception handler here because it covers all the extensions down the stack. But it doesn't match semantically the Bencode extension. So probably we need to install exception handler somewhere here after an REPL session, because an REPL session introduces a new reply function which adds ID and session ID to the response, and it is important for client to be able to clean up requests, pending requests, because if we reply with an error and we don't have ID in the reply message, that means that client don't know in which place the error occurred, in which request we got this failure, and also it won't clean up this failed request from pending requests. And probably you saw, like, when you have evaluation, can I have a longer evaluation? For example, lib10. You have a spinner at the top, and probably you could see that sometimes it appears a few requests which never ends, and spinner continues to spin infinitely. It is because the pending request was never cleaned up, because our Bencode extension replied without ID, without request ID. And that is why we will introduce a new extension which setups the exception handler, and it will be after an REPL session, which will allow to automatically add ID to all the error messages. Of course, it has some downsides. One of the downsides okay, I'm brain lagging a bit. Talking about downsides, because we install it, we add it to the stack after session. If something happens here in first 4 extensions, we will never know it. I mean, probably we'll know it at some point, but in most cases it will fail relatively silently, and it will be hard to understand what is going on. But we expect those extensions to be quite reliable, I guess. So I think it's like a practical trade-off. We will cover everything except this one. Oh, I see the problem of my current implementation of wraps. Wraps asterisk basically adds additional dependencies, like edges in the graph of dependencies. And if we have a few extensions which wraps everything, it will introduce cycles really quickly. Unless we specify the relationship between two wrapping all extensions. These require, for example. Okay, maybe. I will do this exception handler extension later, because probably I will need a clear mind to make sure that our wraps property works well, and I will need to think about the dependency graph and how it constructed. So yeah, let's postpone it. The thing I did at the moment, I moved the exception handler from beancode to session. So the session, so we can use a reply introduced by session extension already if exception occurs. Something broken after Apple session. And let's see what we have in Arei for testing. Yeah, in case something bad happens, we will get error during test run. Okay, now let's see how it works. Now, when I run a failing operation, you can see that exception get printed in my Emacs session, and here is the response generated. It says after Arei beancode, but it will be after an REPL session when I will update, when I will restart the Arei. Okay, good enough. Now let's go to our testing extension and remove throw this one. Restart Arei. Okay, and now you can see that our test execution machine works as expected. Also, another change that I introduced recently is the way the tests are executed. We had suitable tests model, in which we had a run tests function, and this function is executed from makefile on CI or manually, but by the way, why it not get indented properly? What the heck? Oh ho ho. Dirty legacy magic. The regular expression based syntax parsing probably leads to this strange behavior, because you can see it doesn't wrap at the point where it should wrap. You see? But if I put it on the next line. It wraps relatively okay. Whatever. Instead of running explicitly specified test suites, I made it run all project tests. And we can actually move it to a separate test. Guile test utils. It's probably not test utils. Guile test runner SCM. Suitable test runner SCM. Okay, and it will export run project tests like this, and we will move this function here. Run project tests. Probably we need a couple models like this one, discovery core, and I guess runners. Make suitable runner, test runner. Should be fine, right? And take a make file and update it. Suitable test runner, run project tests. Check suitable. Boom. Syntax violation. Yep. Surfy. Why? No, I don't get it. What the heck? Suitable test runner, bad use of underscore. What the fuck? Underscore inside chain call. Chain is defined in Surfy. $197. Am I wrong? What the fuck? Test. This is some kind of rep going on here. string append. I hope you can hear me well, and this is just a stupid warning for some unknown reason. Okay, this is a very right. This is my bad. Okay. Now it works. Okay, okay. My bad. Well, we moved this function to a separate module, and let's, I guess, commit it. Test. Suitable tests. Suitable test. Compare to a separate module. Right? We actually need it only for running tests in CLI, and also to make sure that the number of tests is hard-coded. So in case we screw up somewhere in the test runner and it provides like no errors, we will catch it because in case it didn't execute any tests or some of the tests, this condition will fail. Okay. We got the stuff fixed. I guess this one can be dropped. Exceptions, flow is rowy, some. Oh, let's actually try this test suite. Cool. We can get directly to the exception problem. Error during test run. Nil. This is not very satisfying message. But we will handle it later. Okay, the reason why I would like to do a cleanup, because we need to implement a couple more features and update old features. For example, one of the features that we need to update, we have a hierarchy looking like this right now, test hierarchy, but it's not very readable and it repeats 2 times the suite name. Like for every suite we have it mentioned 2 times, which is unnecessary, and this one is very noisy. Ideally we can represent it much cleaner with a tree-like data structure using the similar approach as tree utility. Like this. This one is much cleaner representation, and here we will have a test suite, and here we will have corresponding tests. I don't know what this symbol is. Long space, two not very visible spaces or whatever. Don't know why they are printed. Anyway, just ignore those red lines. We will have something similar for our test suites. And to achieve this, we need to store hierarchy after loading. We already do it to some degree. We will need to implement a special event which is triggered after the whole suite is loaded. Unfortunately, we can't build this tree unless all the things are loaded, because at each point of time we don't know if this one should be like a basic angle or angle which extends and here contains something else. Because when we loaded this test suite, it's not clear if it is the last test suite for this test suite, like for the parent test suite. So we need to load all of them first, and only after that we can actually build the hierarchy. Yeah, and there's a few more features related to execution configuration or run configuration that I would like to introduce. But before introducing them, we need, some tests to ensure that the test runner still works as we expect. And those tests are written in this model, which is like a test model for the whole library. But now we need to move those tests to a separate model for the runner itself. Hello Anode, custom Emacs config. I would say custom Emacs distribution and operating system distribution. Of course, it's like Emacs config, and most of it is written by me, and some parts are contributed by other people. It is RD Emacs. You can read more about this project here on my homepage and here in the repository. It's basically a set of APIs for configuring which uses Gix package manager to create a home environment, and a lot of batteries. So you can think of it as a Doom Emacs, but for the whole operating system. And feature can integrate a few things. It can integrate packages that will be installed in your operating system, Emacs configuration, and what else? Those packages configurations, and so on. For example, I have password utils, and this password utils configures and installs packages. It configures the package itself, password store package, and also it creates Emacs client XDG entry, and also it configures the Emacs itself. So you can see it's a quite deep integration. And also there can be conditional configuration. For example, if there's Emacs embark in my configuration defined, it will install custom embark menu. Okay, it's a bit off topic. Let's get back to our refactoring. I wanted to create runners test model. Define model. Probably I need to disable logging. Define model res suitable runners test. Okay. I'm not sure what this to do means. Make a post tests. Add filters by test name. I guess it's kinda done. Okay. We have our defined model. Now we need to define a test. For this, we need suitable core. And we need to define suite. Actually, let's copy a suite from suitable tests, and we will copy this suite. Okay, there are few errors because we didn't copy all the dependencies of this code. Oh, interesting. It didn't update immediately. Hey Andrew, are you using Niri instead of Sway now? I'm curious if there's a feature Niri for RD somewhere. I'm currently using feature Sway. Yes, I use Niri. Now there's no feature Niri yet, because I just hacked feature Sway to run feature Sway run on TTI to run Niri instead, and I manually wrote a config in a text file, so it's not generated by RDE yet. I was experimenting with Niri for last couple weeks, and I'm quite happy. It will require some configuration, and it has a few minor problems at the moment. But after I finish a milestone with suitable library, when I implement JUnit output format for suitable, I will be able to allocate some time for finally getting back and committing all the stuff I did for RD locally. I have like quite a lot of changes for my personal config and for RD itself, which are not committed, which are, you know, in the intermediate state. They works already, but not cleaned up. The second message. Also, I'm interested in what you think about Emacs-based window managers like EXVM, or if a Wayland compositor integrated into Emacs were to appear someday, do you think you would use it? Talking about Emacs-based window manager, I don't feel that Emacs is a reliable application. It has like a lot of seg faults, it has a lot of performance problems, it has a lot of blocking, and you know, even on the, I guess, previous stream or before that, I faced an issue with, I guess, I think EL, which made it impossible to use callback inside callback because it probably executed in a separate process. So like Emacs has a lot of issues, and I definitely would not like to use it as you know, application that handles all other applications. Not even talking about security, but only about reliability. If Emacs seg faults, everything else is crushed, and like you lose your work, you lose the state of your work, and it's very distracting. At least very distracting. And I wouldn't like to provide myself with such experience and other people who use RD with such experience. Niri is kinda well done, I would say. It's quite reliable. It has good out-of-the-box configurations. It has a lot of capabilities, and I quite enjoy it so far. It's not that flexible as Emacs, it's not that hackable, but it's hackable enough, I would say, to implement many cool possible workflows. And on one of the RD meetups, we were discussing window managers. I don't know if it was recorded or not, but my idea is that I would like to have some window manager which is customizable and hackable, even more a window manager framework or compositor framework, which allows you to build an actual compositor or window manager on top of this framework. It would be cool, but it definitely won't be Emacs based because of reliability and performance issues. Maybe it can be a Guile based thing, but still the Guile and its ecosystem is not yet here to implement the Wayland compositor. I mean, you can definitely implement some basic Wayland compositor, but you know, even the lack of persistent data structures will make this solution very questionable. Not talking about other goodies that probably we will want to have for Wayland compositor. And the library for interacting with Wayland APIs and APIs is not yet here. There are like a few libraries which are not reliable, not complete, not well tested, and so on. So summing up all that I said right now, I would be glad to have a very well implemented Guile framework, or even implement myself at some point of time. But we are not yet here. The Guile ecosystem is not yet here. Emacs based window manager is no go for me because of performance and reliability. Niri is like somewhere in between. It's not that hackable as Emacs and theoretical Guile window manager, but it's hackable enough and it's very reliable, and yeah, basically probably the best that we can get at the moment, and I think I will stick with it. Looking forward to changes in RD. Your answers about window managers are inspiring. Thank you for your work and on RD and Ares. Thank you for your very kind and sweet words. Really appreciate it. Sometimes it's hard to understand how much we influence people by just talking to them and giving them feedback. I think like the beginning of my work, like a few years before, it was not sponsored by any company, it was not supported by any means, and yeah, I was basically spending my own savings for keeping my work going, and one of the reasons why I kept going, because people were coming and writing me a comment or email or message somewhere about the work and how it helps in their usual lives, and that's probably why I still here and do what I do. Luckily, right now I have some fundings that was brought to me by the work. For example, I had a few consulting contracts because of my work and the stuff I did for Geeks and Guile, and also the grant from NLNet, which actually covers most of the work related to suitable library. So yeah, right now I feel that my work is appreciated and also even paid. I wouldn't say it paid like really well, but it is enough to survive and continue the work, and I hope in the future I will get at least the same amount of money that I could make from commercial work, or at least the same amount that I had before I went for this journey. But yeah, the primary thing that keeps me working on the stuff is probably people's feedback. Okay, we talk a lot, but we don't do a lot. We need to do something. Let's comment out all the stuff that doesn't work yet. Let's think how we would like it to test. You can see that for small test suites it's quite easy to understand the structure from this output, but for the bigger suites it's not that clear. The way we would like to test our test runner. I guess the way we would like to do it, first we define sample use case, and we check the log and state of test runner. So here, what I do, I execute in my current test runner those assertions and hope they works. But the proper testing for the test runner, I guess, will be putting it and executing inside newly created test runner and looking up the values that are get logged and put in the state. So yeah, probably we will need to write a whole new test suite for our test runner. It's not a big deal, despite the fact that the test runner is 400 lines of code total, with exports, imports, and additional functions. I think it's not that hard to cover it with tests. And it's a good opportunity to think on all the semantics of the test runner and to write them down in the tests. Define. Let's do a simple test suite. So we have a foundation, and with a clear mind, next time I will come and write much more tests which define the semantics of the test runner. Define suite. Assertions, handling tests. Okay, let's start from something. Oh, we need to create a new test runner. Suitable tests. Silent test environment. Something like this. Test. We create a new test runner and executes tests inside it. So this silent test environment, what we will do, we run is, let's actually take all of them like this. And after that, we just print test runner type of okay. Thank you for the error. Runners. Test reporter. Thank you. Reporters. Unbound variable test runner, because it is, oops. Okay, it works. And what it prints? It prints run assert body, assert sunk, what I would like to have. I would like to have a different syntax with runner, which takes test runner like this. Runner. Why I want it to be this way, so I can reuse the test runner in few different contexts. For example, here I can wrap a, oops. I can wrap asserts into list dir locals. Is this runner? Runners tests. Okay. With test runner tr, now I will put it into the list. And we'll print it. And after that, with test runner tr, I will do this one. Boom. Sounds good. Sounds good so far. Oops. Okay. So the first test maybe is equal values. The first test can be like this. Define silent runner. Silent. The other option actually can be creating a test runner, but wrapping output ports like test reporter output ports and standard output ports and checking like the values they produce. Oops. The cool thing that we don't need to test that our test runner receives those values, because we already have core tests that do exactly that. Our core tests checks that our macros produce all necessary values to the test runner. Here and here. And here. So yeah, all that stuff is tested. Now we need to check that our test runner actually executes the asserts and the values returned by them is the proper values. Oops. Is assert returns the value its body. I mean, this is a good documentation test. Oh, by the way, Who failed? Okay. Nice. It works. This one is good. The only better way I can potentially see this test to be written if we can put side by side the assertions and the expected values, so we can immediately see the correspondence. We of course can write a macro for this, but do we want to do so? Probably no, because this one is relatively straightforward. We have a list, we compare list against list, and all good. If we will introduce a macro, it will be a new syntax, and people who is looking to this test probably will need to wrap their heads around. On the other hand, maybe it's not a bad idea if it really simplifies the reading. I have the following idea. Some macro where you specify a test runner, and after that you put the expression is test runner context, and after that you put expression without test runner context is true. Like this. Or vice versa. There's also R closure test macro, which do something similar, I guess. R X Y Yeah, this one is probably cool addition. But I remember it was quite hard to implement. And also error reporting maybe not that great when such things happens. Yeah. The note is here. Okay, let's write it down. Assertions. Same template. Okay, for today we at least created a model for runners tests and wrote our first test. So next time we come back and have fresh mind and decide to write down the semantics of the test runner in terms of the tests, it will be much easier for us to do, which is already great. And also we did a small cleanup and moved a CLI test runner to a separate model, which also a good start for cleaning up a suitable test model. And before that, in the morning, before the stream started and all that, we did a lot more work a lot more important work to make our testing integration extension loaded in a proper order in a proper place of extension stack, which means that we will be able to release it to the users of Arei and Ares very soon. Okay, it was a productive week. We did a lot of stuff. We implemented a lot of features, integration for Arei with the test runner, status in the mini buffer of test execution, hotkeys for loading tests, for loading model test, project tests, for rerunning tests, and we have a lot of stuff to do next week, but we already have a great foundation, and maybe in a couple more weeks we will be at the point where the library is stable and featureful enough to be finally released to the wider audience, so other people can also start using it. Okay, thank you everyone for joining the stream. I hope you enjoyed and maybe it was a bit useful, and I will see you in a bit.